So welcome to our webinar on the future tense of verbs. The future tense obviously is used for the future when we were talking about tomorrow, next week, next year, even later this day. Anytime we want to talk about the future, we are going to use the future tense. There are several different ways that we can use to talk about the future in English. And one of those is using the word will. So I will work tomorrow. Another one is the verb to be plus going to plus the verb. So I am going to work tomorrow. And we can even use the present continuous tense to talk about things that are planned in the near future. So we could just say, I am working tomorrow. So those are three different ways of using the future tense. And they can be a little tricky for our ESL students because we often talk quickly and we use reductions, especially when we're using be going to and will, we reduce those. And so it can be hard for students to hear them and to reconcile the way the words are written and the way that they sound when they're spoken. So today we're especially going to be talking about the be going to, which is one of the more challenging forms of the future tense. Some examples we have here. I am going to pray tonight. He is going to watch a movie tomorrow. We are going to leave soon. So with be going to, the verb to be is conjugated with am, is, are in the present tense. And then we have the verb following after going to. For the will is actually simpler to use because it's just one word and we just have to stick that in front of the verb we want to make future tense. And so that one students catch on to pretty easily. So they will return soon. Where we have to be careful is many times we will pronounce going to as gonna when we're using the future tense, especially in North America. We say, I'm gonna pray tonight. He's gonna watch a movie. We're gonna leave soon. And so he's gonna watch a movie doesn't look at all like he is going to watch a movie. But they need to be familiar with hearing that and understanding it, even if they choose not to use it. With the word will, it's usually reduced to just the LL. So I'll pray tonight, will leave soon, you'll be there. And that can sometimes be hard to pronounce, that little L at the end of the words for our students. They often don't even hear it because it happens so quickly. So we want to point that out to them. Now we're going to start out by looking at, here is a verse. This is from Matthew 16 in the New International Reader's Version of the Bible. And I'm going to ask you guys to try to find some of the future tense verbs in this. So Prakash, if you are able to annotate on your screen, see if you can highlight the future tense verbs in this verse as I read it. So verse 24 says, then Jesus spoke to his disciples. He said, whoever wants to be my disciple must say no to themselves. They must pick up their cross and follow me. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good is it if someone gains the whole world but loses their soul? Or what can anyone trade for their soul? The Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory. His angels will come with him, and he will reward everyone in keeping with what they have done. What I'm about to tell you is true. Some who are standing here will not die before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Amen. So this is really an important message that Jesus is giving us, and important promises that he is telling us. And Prakash, you did a great job with finding those future tense. So we've got will lose it, will find it, is going to come, will come with him, will reward everyone, will not die. And so those promises of Jesus show us how to live. And so this is a great verse for discussing the future tense with our students. And we can ask them questions, what happens, what will happen if we try to save our own lives? What will happen when, what will happen if we pick up our cross and follow Jesus? And so we can practice asking and answering questions using the future tense with will. So thank you for that, Prakash. Okay. And let's see, gonna clear those annotations. There we go. So here's an example of the verb to be, going, as we use it in a question, in positives and negatives. So for questions, we have to reverse the subject and the verb. So instead of I am, we change it to am I going to study math? Is she going to study science? Are we going to study history? So that can be tricky for our students to remember, to transpose. And sometimes I'll write those two words on cards, right? And show when it's positive, we say I am. When it's a question, we say am I? And show them those reversals. And then in the affirmative, yes, I am going to study math. Or we can just use the short form, yes, I am. Yes, she is going to study science. Yes, we are going to study history. And the negative, we're going to put the not between the verb to be and the verb going, so that placement of the not is a little bit tricky. No, I'm not going to study math. No, she is not going to study science. No, we are not going to study history. Is she going to start university? No, she isn't going to start university. She's going to start working. So at this point, the students should be familiar with the present tense of the verb to be and the contractions, so that they know we can say she's not or she isn't. We can say I'm not or I am not. But all of those variations make it a little bit more prone to errors. So we want to drill those and practice those quite a bit so they get comfortable with them. Okay. Oh, hang on. Gotta go back to my mouse. There we go. Okay. Now, the future tense using will is much more simple. We put the verb will before the subject to make a question. Will I see you tomorrow? Will she work late? Will they be here on Monday? And in the affirmative, we can give a short answer, yes, you will, or yes, you will see me tomorrow. Yes, she will work late. Yes, they will be here on Monday. One thing that's a little bit odd is that the contraction for will not, instead of being willn't, as we would suspect, it's irregular and it's won't. So no, you won't see me tomorrow. No, she won't work late. No, they won't be here on Monday. And so a great way to start practicing these is to have real life conversations with our students, ask about their future plans. What will you do this weekend? Will you go to church? Will you go to a movie? Will you stay home? And they can answer, yes, I will, or no, I won't. And then start to get into more complex conversations. But we always try to make it practical and real, get students talking about their actual lives. Another exercise we use in the Light of the World lessons is we show pictures and ask what is going to happen or what will happen in these pictures. So for example, for letter A, they might say she's going to have a baby. Or for B, he's going to eat. Oh, I guess that's a woman's. She's going to eat. For letter C, she's going to get a present. She's going to open it up. Or letter D, he's going to hurt his foot. He's going to shout. So those are different visual prompts where we can get them thinking about it. We also have exercises like this where they are going to use going to in the negative or positive. So the pictures that have an X on it is going to be negative. So like number 1, she is going to teach. But for number 3, he is not going to use the computer. And these are great for students to do with a partner, and you can break up your class into smaller groups so they can practice these kind of exercises until they get familiar with it. In the conversations, so in this conversation, we actually wrote out the word gonna because that's often what they will hear. So typically in formal writing, we would never use the word gonna. You might use the word gonna in a text message or informal, but we've written it out here so that the students can kind of get used to hearing it and understanding it. So what are you gonna do this weekend? I'm gonna go to a wedding. Then these blue words, students will swap out for their own words, what they're really gonna do this weekend. So I'm gonna go to work, or I'm gonna go to my friend's house. And so this is another way that they can practice making conversations with gonna. We always start out with the model, but then as soon as we can, get them talking about real things. Okay, and so finally, here are some common mistakes we'll see students making with the future tense. And so you want to watch out for these mistakes, and as we correct them, it's an opportunity for us to let the students know the correct way of doing it. So let me grab a little highlighter here. Oh, good, John is joining us. Hi, Jean. Thank you for joining us. I'm just showing some common mistakes that we make, that students often make with the future tense. So for example, number one, is he going play basketball? We've got a word missing here, right? So it should be, is he going to, oh, I can't write on this. Is he going to play basketball? So many times they'll leave out those little words, especially because they don't hear them in conversation. People just normally say, is he gonna play basketball? Oops, and I put the 2 in the wrong place. Sorry there, it should be 2 over there. Normally they'll hear, is he gonna play basketball? They don't hear the word to at all. And so when they write it, they often forget that word to. So, but it should be, is he going to play basketball? Number 2, he isn't go eat pizza. Here, they're forgetting to put the ing and the to. So it should be, he isn't going to eat pizza. They've got the ing instead on the end of the action verb, but it really should go over here on the end of go. Okay, this is a really common mistake, and it just takes some practice for them to get used to that. She is going to school on the bus. So here they've got too many ings, and that can be confusing, especially when we're using the word go. They'll say she's going to, or they'll leave out one of the goings, but it's gonna be she is going to go. The film will finish at 8. So they know that in the third person, we put an S at the end of the verb, but will is an auxiliary verb. It does not take an S at the end. So it's just the film will finish at 8. So we have to remind them with words like can and will, there's no third person S. It's the same for all forms. Sometimes they'll get confused and try to put both of those tenses together, the will and the going to or gonna. So we have to remind them it's just going to be one or the other. We can say my friends will leave on holiday next week. We could say my friends are gonna leave on holiday next week, but we're not going to put both of those in the same sentence. Number 6, she will carries her little sister to the car in the morning. So they know that in the present tense, we put an S when the subject is he, she, or it, right? So that's good that they've learned that rule, but that doesn't apply to the future tense. So with the future tense, it's just going to be she will carry. We have to let them know they don't conjugate that verb in the future tense. It's just she will carry with a Y. Number 7, he's will visit his 3 siblings. We don't need that is there because we're using the will. And so this is why we typically teach to be going to and will separately, because students do get them mixed up, and it's great if they have one of those down before we introduce the other one. Will is typically the easier one to learn, but it can get confusing when we mix up these different types of future tenses. Number 8, are we going to plays in the garden at break? So again, they're putting an S on here. They don't need that, especially they don't need it because the subject is we. So even if it was present tense, they wouldn't have that. But that third person S is very tricky. Our teacher not will talk very much. So here they transpose and they're putting, sometimes they'll put the word not before the will. Sometimes they'll put the word not after the verb. And so we've got to work on that placement as well. So those are just a few of the common mistakes we can see when students are working with the future tense.